I'm Johnny Mac with your daily comedy news. Greg Daniels, creator of the American version of The Office, spoke with Collider about what he thinks a reboot of The Office could be. His idea involves new characters set in the same universe of the original show. He explains, I can't tell whether fans would want more of it, and when I say more of it, I don't think it'd be the same characters. I think it'd be sort of like an extension of the universe. You know what I mean? Like the way The Mandalorian is an extension of Star Wars. But I don't know if that would be something people would want or not. It's hard to tell. Originally, that's what Parks and Rec was going to be. That was going to be a sequel to The Office. A bad copy machine from Dunder Mifflin would have been sent to the local government office in Pawnee, Indiana. However, that idea changed in favor of making the Amy Poehler-led series a spiritual sequel instead. So I'm just trying to picture what this would be. We're at a Scranton post office, and it's different funny people at a workplace. Then do we get weird things? Like, does Kevin come in and get his mail? I just think the whole thing would be weird. I think they just have to let that series be, especially as more time goes on. A couple years ago when Peacock and all that was starting, I could have envisioned a version where it was The Office with Dwight as the boss and kind of how we saw many of the characters at the end of season 9 and maybe some new faces. There's really no good way to have Pam on the show because Krasinski's just not going to do it. So to have Pam without Jim gets a little weird. You know, she's just talking about what Jim's doing at home. That could have got a little funky. So it's probably just best to just leave The Office alone. If you're in Washington, D.C., you can go see the Friends Experience until June 5th. A downtown Washington retail space has been converted into a faux version of Central Perk, the coffee shop from Friends. Standard tickets are more than $40. Channy Smith thought it was worth it, says the Washington Post. Smith lives in Israel and was in town for her niece's graduation. On the plane, she watched the Friends reunion from 2021 and then was lured to the experience by an ad she saw in Union Station. The experience is not a museum. Those signed scripts and other ephemera show up in the Friends experience. Fans want the opportunity to walk inside those worlds. Kelsey Miller, who lives in New York City and wrote the book I'll Be There For You, the one about Friends, suggests that Friends has not aged all that well. Things like homophobia, body shaming, and lack of diversity. The Washington Post writes, such immersion was not always an option. Many shows of yesteryear do not envelop viewers in an alternate universe. There's no MASH experience. There's no Car 54, Where Are You experience. I double dare someone to create the Car 54, Where Are You experience. How old do you have to be to have actually seen that show? Now, the MASH experience, for a while, the set was up in California, so you could kind of sort of visit MASH, sort of. Moving on, Vulture spoke to the kids in the hall. They were on the Good One podcast. I've added that to my listening queue. I'm probably listening to it right now while you're listening to me. That's weird. You're listening to me and I'm not listening to me. Anyway, the Vulture Good One podcast said, hey, kids in the hall, what's amazing is 30 years of comedy later, it's still noticeable how differently you all play women in sketches. With much more integrity, you play female characters compared to comedy in the last decade or so. Scott Thompson said, I guess. Mark McKinney said, we're still playing women with a certain sort of three-dimensionality. How do you all do it? Kevin McDonald said, I just put a wig on and I become my mother, though it's not like my mother at all. She didn't have like a fake British accent like I do, but spiritually it feels like her. Vulture asked how this reunion happened. Bruce McCullough said, we never talked about it. We just did it. And then we went down a little bit with the pandemic. And that gave us some time to kind of refresh some material and write some new stuff. And I think it turned out for the best. Then the Vulture article quotes DM. Now, I don't think there's a DM in The Kids in the Hall. There's a DF, Dave Foley. So I'm not sure who to attribute this quote to, but let's just pretend Dave Foley may have said this. And I think we just all came to the conclusion individually that, yeah, we want the show to feel like the old show. We want the same kind of bumpers and the same Shadowy Men music and that sensibility. That is one thing I really liked about that reboot. So here's today's question. My son and I caught up on season 2 of Mythic Quest. Mythic Quest, created by Rob McElhenney, Charlie Day, and Megan Gantz. You know them from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Rob McElhenney plays Ian Grimm, the owner and creative director of a successful video game studio. Now, here's the thing. Is this show a grift? Because based on what I just told you, aren't you like, oh, wow, Mac and Charlie and the creative force from It's Always Sunny have a new show? Isn't that exciting? Yes, it is, but Charlie's not in it. And you're still like, okay, but Rob's in it, right? Yes, Rob is in it, except in season 2, which was 9 episodes. I'm positive Rob's not even in 2 of the episodes, and I think he's not in 3 of the episodes. And even the episodes he's in, he's not really in. So is this just a bait and switch? Like, we're watching it. There were 2 full episodes that weren't even funny. And like, I'm okay with dramedies, but we were like sitting on the couch like, what is this, Mythic Quest? I don't get it. We struggled through the whole season. Season 1 was okay, but season 2, like, guys, like, seriously, is this some sort of con job? Like, I don't know what's going on. And this is a show that has Danny Pudi in it. Criminally underused. David Hornsby, you know him as Cricket from Always Sunny? He crushes in this thing, but get the ball back to David Hornsby. Use Danny Pudi. Where's Rob? What is going on with this show? There was a couple episodes about this relationship on the show, and we're sitting there like we don't care. Then, in one of the episodes, a member of that couple from the relationship, I don't care, is in a car with Rob's character. And Rob goes, do you think we care at all about your relationship? And I'm like, oh, maybe they like really did a long con here and they were setting up to get me really frustrated so I could get this laugh here. And maybe now they're going to drop that relationship. No, they didn't drop the relationship. They kept going with it. Season 2 of Mythic Quest. Awful. Time once again to play my favorite game. What if we were at the Vancouver Comedy Festival? What would we go see? It's the last day of the festival. Here are your choices. Do you have a pen? Take some notes. All right, 7 o'clock, Jimmy O. Yang. We already know I'm going to pick that. Gavin Matz, also at 7. Sunday night stand-up comedy. Marito Lopez, Celeste Lampa, Bobby Warner, Malik Alasal, Michelle Nandi, Gina Harris, Dylan Williams. Headliner, Ryan Williams. I feel like we saw a bunch of those people early in the week, didn't we? 7 o'clock, Comedy Pants. Join Alistair Ogden, his favorite comedians, and a pair of real pink pants for an intimate and hilarious evening of stand-up and sketch comedy. Over the 80-minute runtime of each show, Comedy Pants seeks to build inclusivity and community through big laughs and a shared love of hilarious legwear. That sounds like a good time. 9 o'clock, Jimmy O. Yang. 9:30, Gavin Matz again. 9:30, Sunday night stand-up comedy again. All right, this is easy. Let's do Comedy Pants at 7, and then we'll hit Jimmy O. Yang at 9:30. Awesome. The Guardian chimed in on Netflix's The Hall. That's the new Comedy Hall of Fame that Netflix is part of. They asked the question, how should we celebrate great comedians? The question remains, can you have a reverent show about irreverence? There's something sanctimonious about the atmosphere in The Hall, the Netflix special, that doesn't quite square with all these peons taking the piss. There's the odd, unintentionally funny moment, too, when the captions blare, congratulations, Robin Williams! Congratulations, George Carlin! For this would-be prestigious posthumous accolade. Is that a thing? Can you congratulate dead people? Peak Rivers or Pryor wouldn't get through a minute of this without puncturing the piety in as blunt a manner as possible. Based on its first edition, the Hall is a better platform for the inductees than those doing the inducting. Its live element is still reaching for the right tone of voice, whereas the acts being celebrated were, and in posterity always will be, fully and sometimes thrillingly in command of theirs. Yeah, I mentioned during the week, I actually skipped through Jon Stewart's part because I was bored. And I like George Carlin. You might have noticed that lately. And I like Jon Stewart. Even Chappelle was kind of like, all right. That's your comedy news for today. You can follow this show for free on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your shows. You can become a premium subscriber on Apple Podcasts for $5 a month. That helps support the show. Or go to buymeacoffee.com/dailycomedynews. Can you even hear that? That's an empty cup of coffee. See you tomorrow.